We are back in the session. Ladies and gentlemen, present, members of the jury and officers present are witnesses to this back on the witness stand and remaining in the definition.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ma'am. So, we're going to go into Dan Kavanaugh's activity log and transaction log for the end of January 2010 to February 2010. Now, before I actually go to the records, I want to ask you, if I were to have let's say, a debit card, PayPal debit card, would that activity be reflected on these records?
Yes.
Okay. If I use a debit card for a transaction, would it leave a IP address anywhere on the records?
I don't believe so.
Okay. So, do you know whether or not Dan Kavanaugh account was issued a debit card?
I'm not off the top of my head.
Okay. And do you know how many debit cards can be issued in a PayPal account?
You can have multiple, but only one active.
One number active?
Yeah.
Okay, so in other words, I could have one and I can be an authorized user on my same account.
I believe so. I don't know enough about the details of the card.
Okay. Can I get my debit card, my PayPal debit card, and give it to my friend to use?
Yes.
Okay. Let's, I'm going to go to Dan Kavanaugh's transaction log, and toward the end of January. Let's see, from, let's say, January, keep going down. Let's see, let's start January 23rd. Oh, wait, hold on. Is it? In the transaction log here, starting, let's say, at actually the beginning of January 7th or so, we see that there appears to be, let's look at the 7th, okay? Okay, yeah, we'll take the 7th there. It says, Kamehameha Kahaku. And it says, authorization completed. Is there anywhere on these records where I could find out what type of transaction that was? Like, is this a payment that was sent somewhere, or is this a debit card being used?
So the payment, that's just an authorization, because we're looking at all again, but if you go to up, it says ATM withdrawal, so it's an ATM withdrawal.
Okay. So 2 up. Okay, there we go. So that ATM withdrawal, it says the source of funds is PayPal funds.
Correct.
So would this be like a physical person going to an ATM machine and withdrawing money out?
Yes.
Okay. And who would be, these records don't tell us who's holding that card and going to the ATM, does it? Okay. So I'm going to just so we don't see all the transactions, just to make it easier, we're going to go to PayPal debit cards to streamline it a bit in that same time period. Okay. And if we can expand it out so we can, okay, there we go. So we can see what appears to be in column, the subject column, and in the name column, several Hawaiian name type purchases. Do you see that what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay. We have Foodland Fukuki on January 9th. We have something Hawaiian on January 10th. We have Foodland Fukuki on January 11th. So we have a bunch of these names there. And it says debit card next to it. Do you see that?
Yes.
So is that a purchase using a debit card?
Yes.
And again, these records won't tell us who's holding the debit card, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So if I go up, let's say to ATM withdrawal right there, does it say where that is? Okay. There we go. There's another ATM withdrawal that says completed for 82.25. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Again, these are all purchases or ATM withdrawals using a physical card with a physical person, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So these Hawaiian sounding purchases or ATM withdrawals seem to go through till the beginning of February. We can go up. You see that?
Yes.
And then they seem to kind of end around February 18th or so, or 17th. Does that sound right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Now looking at those records from January, and you can take a moment, from January, whenever we started, January 7th or so, through this February 12th date, are there any transactions that are not with a card? And when you're ready for us to scroll, we'll scroll.
They all appear to be debit cards.
Okay. Should we scroll some more, or are we done scrolling? Okay.
And all of those appear to be debit cards as well.
Okay. And I think that's about it right there. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go put the activity log, and this is the log that indicates an IP address and where the user is, right? So we're going to go to Dan Kavanaugh's activity log for that same time period. Okay? We're going to try to put it side by side there. You see that? Okay, so during that time period, so we see January, I'm going to go to the bottom of that activity log page where January 14th, and you see an IP address that begins with 66. You see that?
Yes.
Okay. And then shortly thereafter, on the let's see, the 26th, we start with 70. You see that?
Yes.
Okay. So from the 26th of January, we start seeing the 70 all the way through, correct?
Correct.
Now, you don't know where these IP addresses are located, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And of course, that's something the jury's going to find out, but you're not here to testify about location, right?
Right.
Okay. So, from January 26th, all the way through those February 17th, where we said those purchases kind of ended in Hawaii with the debit card, we show an IP address beginning with that 70, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So if the holder of this account were in one location and he gave his debit card to someone else in another location, would that be reflected anywhere in these records that we could cross-check?
Objection assumes facts, not evidence, is proper hypothetical.
Okay. I want to talk about Dan Kavanaugh's account. We'll go to the transaction log, just the transaction log. and I want to focus in on a time period after February 2010. I want to go to the month of September, actually, the beginning, September 2010. And I had asked you earlier about a name change on the account. You recall me asking you about that?
Yes.
Okay. So when somebody changes the name of their account, is that something that could be reflected in the transaction log? Or would that be the activity log?
Objection, relevance.
The activity log.
Okay. Yeah. Is there anything, let's see, going to September 29th, is there anything on September 29th that would indicate Dan Kavanaugh changed the name of his Dan Kavanaugh account? And you can use your pointer if you feel that that's helpful.
Yes, so,
If you can just use your pointer. Thank you.
right here. Change name from Daniel Kavanaugh to.
Okay. So change name from Daniel Kavanaugh to Earth Inspired Products?
Correct.
So he changed the name of his PayPal account to EIP. That's what that
Objection,
says,
this
right?
case testimony.
What are we looking at here, Ms. Dean?
The credit card statement name changed from Daniel Kavanaugh to,
We have to try to keep your voice up a little bit louder. Talking to you.
so change from Daniel Kavanaugh to Earth Inspired.
Okay. And then I see some language to the right. It says, changed the extended CC statement name from Daniel Cavan to Earth Inspired Product. What is, do you know what changed extended CC statement is?
I'm not sure, no.
Okay.
I'm sorry, did you say he changed the PayPal account or the debit card account?
I'm not sure what this is in reference to. It just says the credit card statement name.
The credit card statement,
The credit, that's what it says, credit card statement.
not the PayPal account.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
This is the PayPal, these are the PayPal records, right?
Yeah, but I'm not sure what this is in reference to.
Okay. So you're not sure what that statement means, but you do know that these are the PayPal records, right?
Yes.
Okay. There's not another set of PayPal records, is there, for Dan Kavanaugh?
No.
Okay. His debit card and his PayPal transactions are all in this transaction log, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. So now I want to go to the transaction log, and I want to go to, you said there was a section in the transaction log that will indicate when this account receives money in, correct? So that's payments received section?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to hit that tab. And we're going to go to after February 2010. Okay, so did this account continue to receive payments after February 10th? I'm sorry, after February 4th? Is that what we're seeing here? This is Dan Kavanaugh's account, correct?
Correct. Can you extend the type?
Yes. Which one? The type at the top.
Yes. So those are credit card payments received, but it looks like they were denied.
Okay. We'll continue to scroll. Does it look like that some of them get completed?
Yes.
Okay. And these are credit card payments. Do these tell us, so if I'm looking at this right, is somebody paying this account with a credit card?
It is a credit card funded payment, but it could be through a website. So when you see the credit card payments receive no accounts, that means that there's not a linked PayPal account and that someone just paid with a credit card and it didn't link to another PayPal account.
So this would be indicative of somebody going to Earth Inspired Product website and buying a fountain.
Objection calls for speculation.
This is indicative of somebody going to a website and making a payment.
Objection calls for speculation.
What does this show then? What are we looking at here when it says credit card payment received?
Payments received into the account.
Somebody paid Dan Kavanaugh with a credit card.
Yes.
Okay. And it says subject. We can expand out. Would the subject give us additional information about the transaction? Is that what that line? Is that what that column is for?
Yes.
Okay. So we see some entries here. It says PayPal money request from Earth Inspired Products. What does that mean?
There was a payment request.
Okay. All right. So we'll keep. And these are amounts. If we look at these transactions starting on this section here from February 17th to June 16th, we're looking at payments, ranging from I guess $800 or $300 all the way up to $5,000, $6,000. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, then we can go over to the left. Okay. So, and it says where the top of D where it says name. Is that the person making the payment to Dan Kavanaugh's account?
Yes.
Okay. And I take it you don't know who Debbie Jones is, or Melanie Osler, or Dan Swearington. You don't know those people?
No.
Okay. All right. Now, if we can just keep going past June 16th. Again, it says payment received, and then it says credit card payment received. What are the differences there when it says payment received or credit card payment received? You see what I'm referring to?
Yeah. Could you scroll over on the payment received one?
Sure. Again, these are multi-$1,000 transactions, correct?
Yes. I mean, it could, I'm not sure exactly. I don't want to guess.
Okay. But these are, whatever it says credit card payment or payment, it's money going to Daniel Kavanaugh's account, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then if we could keep going up past this time period, this was up until September, end of September. Okay, and this next section goes into from, let's say, August to December. Payments received. We keep seeing these credit card payments received, correct?
Yes.
And if we could scroll over to the amounts. And it says name. Those are all different individual names, correct?
Yes, those are the buyers.
Okay. Again, multiple thousands of dollars in transactions. 7,500. You see there. You see 1,950. Correct?
Correct.
All going to Dan Kavanaugh's account.
Yes.
Okay. And December 7th, 2010. Now, what about the there's a spending section too, correct?
Sorry?
PayPal debit card section?
Yes.
Okay. I want to go to that for a second. Now, would this be Daniel Kavanaugh's, I think we just looked at some of those transactions, but this is him, or his account using the debit card that was issued to the account, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, if we can just go past February into March. Okay. Okay, so this is spending using the debit card. If we can expand out the name section, which is D. Oh, that's expanded. Okay. And we see various. That section would be where where this account is making a purchase. Is that correct? Where it says name. If we're talking about PayPal debit card for a Kavanaugh account, is the name section where the debit card is being used?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I would have to, I'm not sure.
Okay. So this is the transaction log, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so the transaction log is designed to give a rundown of all the transactions, correct?
Correct.
And we clicked on this PayPal debit card tab, correct?
Yes.
So when I click on that tab, what am I going to be seeing in the PayPal debit card tab?
Debit card purchases, but they could be online or in person.
Okay, gotcha. So these are purchases, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So if we scroll through, we're seeing different names and so forth. Okay. Looks like there's restaurants and different types of purchases. There's a market, there's a pharmacy, there's a liquor store, a Costco, those types of purchases. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay. And it just goes to March? Okay. And then we see Adagio collection. You don't know what that is, or do you?
No.
Okay. Western Union. Okay. Facebook. All types of different purchases, correct?
Yes.
And that's just with the debit card, correct?
Yes.
Okay. If we go to payments sent, by the way, if we just go up and see how long those payments last. That's the June 22nd, 2011?
Yes.
Okay. And if we could just hit December 2010 real quick. Oh, we denied. Okay. And then it looks like a bunch of these transactions are denied. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Looks like the last completed was in August. And then what about payments sent? We just start after February 2010. And then again, with that section, that D section, the D section would tell us where the payments are being sent to. Is that what that section is?
Yes.
Okay. And we can see the amounts where it says gross at the top, correct?
Yes.
Okay. this account ever change its nature from, let's say, a personal to a business, or personal to a premier to a business, or anything like that?
Objection asked and answered.
Overruled.
It did change from a personal to a premier.
And do you know when that would have occurred?
It's in the beginning.
The beginning of the account?
Soon after the account was created.
Okay. And what's the difference between personal and premier?
I don't know everything.
Okay. Is premier a personal type of account?
Yes.
Type of personal account?
Yes.
Okay. And that happened towards the beginning of the creation of the account?
Yes.
And did the premier ever change to a business? Because remember when at the beginning of looking at this, we saw that it was a business account, that's what you had said, right? So
Yes.
at some point did it change from a premier to a business?
Yes.
Do you know when that may have occurred?
I do know.
Nothing further, thank you.
Cross.
Yes. Ms. Kane, let's step back a moment. You are here as a custodian of records to verify that Exhibit 1021 of the records of PayPal, correct?
Correct.
And when is the first time you saw documents that were contained in Exhibit 1021 that's being shown?
When was the first time I saw them? About a week ago.
Okay, well, I'm showing you the account info for account ending in 761. You're not Cindy Patterson, correct?
Correct.
And these documents were requested on Sunday, this Sunday, and gathered on this Sunday. So how did you see them a couple weeks ago?
So we received a request and we processed the request, and then we took the request into the system, and this was when it was pulled.
And would it be fair to say that your knowledge of what the contents of a lot of these records mean, you don't know?
I know what the records are, yes.
But you don't know what they necessarily mean in some instances, or their significance, do you?
I know what they mean, but I don't know all of the reasoning behind all of the transactions because they're not my department, quite frankly.
So, well, you were asked several questions on direct about certain specific entries, and your response was, I don't know. Right?
Yes.
So that would be an indication that as to the meaning of a lot of the entries in here, you don't know what they mean. You just know that that's the record.
Objection, argumentative.
Overruled.
Correct.
Okay. And in all fairness, you were not given a script of questions you were going to be asked before you hit the stand, were you?
Correct.
So some of these may have caught you by surprise.
Correct.
Okay. So maybe a little unprepared to answer some of the specific questions.
Objection, argumentative and relevant.
Overruled.
Can you say that again?
So some of the questions could have caught you by surprise that you were unprepared to answer. Would that be fair to say?
Yes, I guess.
Such as the meaning of certain entries.
I know what entries are, and I've seen the transactions, so.
Well, for example, you were asked about IP addresses. What experience do you have in IP addresses?
I know that we capture IPs, and that a captured IP begins at the moment that the PayPal account is accessed.
Okay, so you capture an IP address. Do you know what IP address you captured?
It's on the record.
Do you know what IP address you captured on the record?
Yes.
What?
Well, there's multiple different IPs on the,
Exactly. There's multiple different IP addresses that could actually be associated with any one transaction. Do you know that?
Your Honor, objection now, this is testimony.
Well, let's get back to what the evidence is. There's an IP address that is captured, right?
yes,
But you don't know what the significance or meaning of that IP address is, do you?
correct,
You don't know whose it is, do you?
correct.
You don't know how it's generated, do you?
Yeah, no, it's not in the record. I just know that we have a record of the IP that was used to access the account.
And for all you know, those IP addresses could be the general IP addresses assigned to a particular provider.
Correct.
So now I'm going to scroll down to page 2 of the account information ending in 761. And just to clarify, 761 belongs to Joseph McStay, EIP, FOUNTAI, right?
Yes,
Okay. So and this is up here in the upper left-hand corner, this is a pretty long number, right?
yes,
And that long number ending in the first number, 761 dash, that's the account that we're referring to, the record.
yes.
Okay. So in referring to this count, down here is highlight. I'm going to highlight this for you. Do you see that?
Yes,
Let me zoom in a little bit on that. That says that Dan Kavanaugh was added in 2007 as a third party. Do you know what that means?
not in this context, no.
Isn't it true that in the PayPal system, a third
Your Honor,
party is an
objection.
authorized
Your
user?
Honor, I'd object. This is now testimony that she says she does not know.
Are you familiar with the PayPal website?
Yes,
Have you used the PayPal website?
yes.
You're an employee of the PayPal company, right?
Your Honor, I would ask that that be removed. Now they're trying to present evidence inappropriately to the jury.
I'm going to refresh your recollection, Your Honor, if I may approach.
Your Honor, she first has to establish whether or not that's something that would refresh her memory if she knows that information.
Do you know what a third party is?
In this context, no.
Okay, would referring to the PayPal Help Center about what a third party is refresh your recollection as to what it is? It would not? So you're not familiar with the concept of third party users within the PayPal system?
Correct.
And a third party user could easily be someone on
Your Honor,
the account,
again,
correct?
Your Honor, can we approach on this now?
Objection sustained is following speculation.
And we had asked that the counsel be admonished to not try to present inappropriate information to the jury.
And at this point, Your Honor, I move to strike her testimony. She's an incompetent custodian of records. Okay, do you know what a gift is?
Yeah, it's an address entered if a purchase is being sent to someone else that's not on the account.
And the interesting thing is, Summer Martelli was added also.
Argumentative and that's the form.
Summer Martelli was added also as a third-party user on February 3rd, correct? Okay. So if I go to, let's make sure I find the right one, because there are so many documents. Oh, let me back up for just a second. You indicated, I believe, to a question that Mr. Molina asked, that implicated that that was the only account associated with Dan Kavanaugh. Do you know that to be true?
Objection misstates her testimony.
That is not the only account for Dan Kavanaugh.
In fact, you guys produced 10 accounts, correct? How many of them applied to Dan Kavanaugh?
I believe 4.
4. Okay, so it's not just one. Right? Okay. So if I can go to the transaction log for that account, 761, I'm going to scroll up here to February 3rd. All transactions, February 3rd, 2010. Oh, here it is. Payment sent, February 3rd, 9:04 a.m. You see that one?
Yes.
Let me. Little Types Hot Wheels. Sounds like a kid's store, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Okay. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk to you about is, do you know exactly how these records are prepared?
Yes.
How?
So we have a series of systems that are PayPal systems, and when we get a request for records, we process it by searching the identifiers provided, and then we pull the records, so the activity log and the transaction log, and it's in the form of an Excel spreadsheet, like it was provided.
In that Excel, well, you provide some information in a secured PDF, correct?
That's the subscriber information.
His account, subscriber information, right? But the transaction stuff you send in a spreadsheet.
In an Excel spreadsheet, yes.
Okay. It's not protected, is it?
When we send it, yes.
It is. Well, the ones that were sent, the ones that I see here aren't protected, were they?
I do not know.
So if I hit delete, I can make transactions disappear, correct?
You just did.
Did you or Mr. McGee or Mr. William have to enter a password into that to get into that spreadsheet?
No.
So that data could be altered in some way by anyone, correct?
Objection calls for speculation now.
I don't know.
Well, if it's not password protected, that information could be corrupted, couldn't it?
Potentially.
Potentially. Did you have an opportunity before testifying today to go line by line, sheet by sheet, to ensure that the information provided was actually exactly the same as was found in the exhibit?
Yes, I reviewed all of the records.
Well, one is like 600 pages long. You went through all 600 pages?
When I pulled the accounts, I made sure that they were, yeah.
So you compared every line of transactions in every sheet of every document for 10 accounts you sent to make sure they were the same as those that were transmitted by PayPal.
Not in detail, but when we pull from our systems, it has all of the transactions and all of the activity between the dates that we request.
The other thing about these records is you don't know who is sitting behind a computer or a device accessing PayPal at any given time.
Correct.
You don't know who the sender is, you don't know who the receiver is, you don't know who the login person is, any of it.
Correct.
It is just rote documentation by a system.
Yep.
So, you might bearings of all these documents. So currently we're in 0761, which is Joseph McStay's. And in the payments received, well, let's go with all transactions. Since it's in an unprotected or in a Excel spreadsheet, I can search, correct?
Yeah.
So, I'm expanding this line 5786 on May 16, 2008. Is this a transaction for a deposit number 2 for Perpetual Restaurant in the amount of $7,430?
That's what it says, yes.
And this was done by a transaction that we hadn't talked about before, which is a virtual terminal transaction. What is that?
No, I don't know all of the answers to that.
That would be another one of those I don't know, right?
Objection argument.
And there's another one on May 2nd. for $7,430, correct?
Correct.
The other thing that you can do is when you look at Mr. McStay's account in the payments sent, if I search for the word Dan, as in the email address Dan or Daniel Kavanaugh, right? And I hit find all. Right down here at the bottom, it tells me how many times it finds that record search, correct? How many times?
505.
505. And when did these records start?
The records are pulled from 2002.
So from 2002 to 2010, there is, on payments sent, 505 entries to the Daniel account.
Yes.
Would that be fair to say? And then, trying to find all of my stuff for you. So then, when we talk about Mr. Kavanaugh's records, you were asked about debit card activity. Are you aware that the Adagio collection is a waterfall supplier?
No.
And in fact, this transaction on January 6, 2010 is a debit card signature purchase. What is a signature purchase?
It's a purchase using a debit card.
For $390, correct?
Correct.
Hawaiian. Kind of like an airline?
I'm not sure.
Not sure? Okay. Well then, starting on January 7th, all the way up to February 17th, you saw all of these transactions that Mr. Moline showed you, right?
Yeah.
Do you know where 56-505 Kamehameha Highway in Kahuku, Hawaii is?
In Hawaii.
Familiar with food land in Cooper Cage on Kamehameha Highway? And again, looking at the type of transactions, a lot of these require either a PIN number or a signature, correct?
Correct.
And that ends here on the 16th. Well, the 16th is a signature transaction to Travel Card Group, right?
Yes.
For $21.52, and that's immediately followed by another Hawaiian transaction for $410. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And in those transactions after February, isn't there true that there are things such as this transaction on March 11th for fountain materials for $3,000?
Yes.
That's a payment received, correct?
Correct.
And another one for a water feature on 325 for $3,400 payment received, correct?
It was denied.
But that would have been a receipt, not a spend, correct?
Correct.
Had it been complete.
Correct.
This one on July 8th, custom water feature, 3,150, right?
Yes.
And as you went through all of these transactions with Mr. Mullane, would it be fair to say it looked like someone was running a business?
Yes.
Payments coming in, payments going out, right? And if that person was a third-party authorized user, that would also make sense, right? Nothing further.
Anything on here, redirect?
You are a custodian of records for PayPal, correct?
Yes.
Your job is not to analyze business or accounting records to see if things match up. That's not your job, is it?
No.
Because we are going to have
Objection, comments from counselor, not testimonial. We'll just strike his comments.
I'm going to show you something on the activity log. Is it on? Council asked you about the IP address question. PayPal actually defines it on the activity log, correct? Of what it is.
Objection, that assumes facts not evidence. Lacks foundation with this witness.
I'm not sure.
In your training as a custodian of records, what is the, as you understand it, based on your training, the IP address is?
It's the unique number that's attached to a computer device, and we capture it at the time of when the PayPal account is accessed for that session.
And the capture time is important, and it's logged in the PayPal records on the activity log, correct?
Yes.
And you said earlier that it's unique to the user device, is that correct?
Objection, lacks foundation.
Based on your training, are you trained in the fact that it is unique to the user device?
Objection, assumes facts not evidence.
It captures the IP address. That's,
Correct.
you know that, right? Okay. I want to go to the just my last question. The Joseph's PayPal account ending in 761 that council just asked you about, and we're going to go to the account page. There's that account page. I think there's a PDF, right?
Yes.
For which account? 761 And I think council indicated that Dan Kavanaugh was a third party. Is that correct? Is that correct? And he brought you to this section?
Well, I'm going to object. Lacks foundation. She doesn't know what that means.
Yes.
And I think he pointed out that Dan Kavanaugh, and he highlighted it for you. Can you see that?
Yes.
Yeah. And then just above that, what is the name there?
Chase Merritt.
Are these third parties, or what section are we looking at here on the records?
Subscriber, account data, the address is used, so the address is on the accounts.
Okay. So next to Chase Merit, it says third-party ads, correct?
Correct.
Back in October of '07?
Yes.
Who enters this information? Is this the account holder enters this information?
I believe so.
Okay. So if we go up to Summer Martelli, and that's the name that he entered, correct?
Correct.
Is that all lowercase letters, or is that?
Yes.
Let me look.
Your Honor, nothing further.
One or two questions. So if someone is using an ATM or a debit card, and they go to an ATM, physically put their card in, get cash, that's gonna show on the PayPal records, correct?
Correct.
Is it gonna show an IP address?
I do not believe so, no.
Because you're not using a computer, right? Likewise, if they have an ATM or a credit card, and they go into a store and physically purchase something, either using a debit card or a credit card with the sign, is that gonna show an IP address?
No.
Again, they're not using a computer, correct? Anything else?
No.
Any objection to this team being excused?
No.
No, I don't object.
Okay, thank you for your attendance and, make sure you don't get any words in, I think they probably did this for you. Take our afternoon recess.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to take our afternoon recess for 10-15 minutes. Remind the admonition to give to you, not to phone or discuss we discuss the case, or I want to discuss the case with you, or in your presence, and discuss